The Silk Report.
As smooth as silk.
Good morning, as it is where I am, and good afternoon, perhaps elsewhere. Actually, it's good afternoon here too. It's 12:30 here. It's good morning in the UK still, but perhaps good afternoon or good evening wherever you happen to be. Let me know what you think of the tournament thus far, but also more specifically, let me know what you think about day 8, and now, of course, we're into day 9, which has already got underway. Give me some thoughts on what occurred yesterday, both on the men's and on the women's half. I will address your points shortly. Sarah, they're just simply saying Nadal. Well, that's exactly where we're going to be beginning, Sarah, because what occurred yesterday, his was obviously the outstanding match of the day, bearing in mind how comfortable Djokovic was. Hi, Jean, nice to have you on board. And good evening in Australia, they're from Laney. Yeah, so we're going to start with Nadal, just because things were much more difficult for him than they were for his upcoming opponent. What I will say is this. There was something about Nadal's demeanor at the end of the 4th set which made me think, I think he thinks he's got this. I think he thinks this is going to be okay. I didn't have the same feeling at the end of the 4th set against Shapovalov, for example, in Australia. Didn't have it necessarily again the end of the 4th set against Medvedev at the US Open when he did ultimately emerge to win. And so many other ones, it's nip and tuck. But there was something in his demeanor that put me as a Rafa fan at ease, at least. He just seemed to be fine. And also physically too. There was no... at the end of the 3rd set against Djokovic, we all remember how exhausted he was as he went into the 4th set. And perhaps we can talk about the foot another time. But yesterday, it looked like everything, he had this. And ultimately, he did. And at the same time, or around the same time, I started noticing a couple of other things that perhaps made the match look a bit tighter than it really was. Let's have a quick look at some of the stats from that match. Obviously, it was 5 sets. Felix winning the 1st set. In fact, he was a double break up in that 1st set. And Rafa got one of those back. And you're thinking, okay, maybe we're going to get back on serve here. But I think that was a turning point. Much like Djokovic last year in the semi-final against Nadal, I do think that the turning point in the match, funny enough, was towards the end of the 1st set, a set in which Djokovic lost, but where he managed to break back and almost get back on serve. And I felt the same yesterday. I think Nadal, once he broke Felix in the towards the end of that, I think Felix was serving for the 1st set. It was like, okay, now Nadal's game is back, whether he wins this set or not. And the following 2 sets followed that pattern. And then he had chances at the beginning of the 4th. And I was convinced at the end of the 3rd set, let me know what you think in the live chat. Once Nadal wins that 3rd set, I thought, this is done now. Nadal's going to win in 4. It's going to be comfortable. He's playing really well again. Felix, who played well throughout, but his A game on this surface, on that court, is not the same as Nadal's A game, if you like. And so when they both bring their A games, Nadal will win reasonably comfortably, as I thought it would happen. And Nadal had chances to break at the beginning of the 4th set. And it almost seemed like, it doesn't matter. He didn't take them, but it doesn't matter because there'll be other chances to come. Well, actually, in that set, there weren't other chances. And I do think in terms of chances and taking the chances, I think this was crucial regarding how tight the match ended up becoming. I also think Felix's first serve percentage, which was 70%, was really high. And also his calmness in really big moments, whether it would be waiting for drop volleys, smashes, or percentage of first serves, or producing them at big moments, I thought was huge. And of course, he was winning, of course, most of his first serves. But this is the point I want to come to, is taking your chances. Rafa just did not take his chances. In the 1st set as well, he had 1 or 2, I think, break points. He had more than that. I think he had 6 actually in the 1st set alone, but he took 1, I think. And then again at the beginning of the 4th. And that was kind of the story of the match, which actually made the match a lot tighter than it needed to be. And Rafa looked disturbed by the fact that he was wasting these chances. There was a lot of unforced errors in those sets that he lost. and very few in the ones that he won. I mean, the final set, he made 4 unforced errors. And the game that he produced to break was just unbelievable. Felix did almost nothing wrong in that game, and yet he still managed to lose his serve. And ultimately, then Rafa obviously went on to close it out. But look at this, points won, 152, 135, suggests actually there was quite a comfortable gap between the two. But the scoreboard in tennis obviously is very different. Excuse me while I just take another sip of coffee. So yeah, let me know what you think of what I'm saying. And let me also know what you think about the Toni Nadal element to this match. I mean, I was convinced that he wouldn't be there. I was convinced that he would be tucked up in a hotel room and watching it from a distance for a variety of reasons. As much as anything, I don't think he would want to distract either player from the show. But instead, he sat there front and center. It was kind of amusing that he's there every time Nadal is serving. You can see over his shoulder, or every time Felix is serving. Every time that was happening, you could see Nadal's biggest cheerleader, if you like, and one that was even supporting him yesterday. I completely understand that. I just don't know why he felt comfortable about being there right front and center. Vamos, quality shot there. Yes, Vamos. But will it be Vamos all the way when he comes up against his next opponent? Tony told Felix to hit to Rafa's forehand. Yeah, sure, that's very funny. I tell you what was an obvious pattern in this match, by the way, was the Nadal going for the Felix backhand. It was Berrettini-esque in terms of the amount of times that when it was just a regular rally, 80% of the time Rafa was going to the backhand of Felix. The difference between the Berrettini-esque element, the tactic was the same. Whenever Rafa plays Berrettini or anyone plays Berrettini, try and get him pinned down on his backhand. But the difference was actually Felix's backhand, I think, stands up a little bit better than Berrettini's. It's still a weakness for him. And in fact, let me know what you think about Felix. First of all, how do we assess his 2022? Has it been good? Has it been okay? Has it been slightly underwhelming or disappointing? I guess we're not even halfway through and we have got Wimbledon to come. What would be a success for him at Wimbledon? I guess it depends on the draw as much as anything else. But I think he's got to be thinking about the semi-finals at very least. Bearing in mind, I think this could be the slam that he ends up excelling at most. Capricorn BG, they're saying Felix is on and off. I think you're being a bit harsh. I think you're right. He did have a dip after Rotterdam. Having won Rotterdam, he then, during the American swing or during the Sunshine swing or whatever you want to call it, the Sunshine double, he dipped for some reason. But I actually think this is, despite obviously struggling at the beginning of the tournament, I think this has been a successful tournament. And he's ultimately lost to Felix, just like in Australia, where he was unbelievable, had match points against Medvedev, ultimately didn't win. If this becomes a pattern, of course, then we can worry. Yeah, Sean, there's a nice joke. Then we can start to worry. But I think in terms of Felix, I think so far I'll give it a tick for the year. Let's see how he gets on at Wimbledon. Let me know your thoughts on that. Quality shot there saying, sorry, let's go for ginger ale. I really wish we had a more balanced draw. It feels like so lopsided. Couldn't agree more. Already spoke about that at the beginning of the tournament. Too late now, but completely agree. As soon as those three, even four with Zverev, I guess, to some extent, but as soon as we had those three, Alcaraz, Nadal, and Djokovic all in the same half, two of which to meet each other at the quarterfinals as well, it was always going to be a bit, because I always feel the second day, because Iga's just slicing through the tournament and there's no other top 10 players left in the women's side. And then also the fact that this draw is so lopsided makes the men's less exciting. So every second day is like today, day 9, as it's going to be, a little bit flat. And if we get amazing matches, that helps. Certainly Tsitsipas being pushed to 5 sets a couple of rounds ago. And we've got some exciting matches today, and we'll come to that later. Felix is going okay, says Josip, made quarterfinals of the last 4 slams. Yeah, that's pretty good. Although not this slam, of course, getting to 4th round. So I think you probably mean sort of second week, Josip, because I don't think he made the quarterfinals of the French last year either. But anyway, I still think it's a positive year so far. Okay, let's come up against, or let's mention Rafa's next opponent. You may have heard of him, because he will be playing Novak Djokovic in the quarterfinals. Eat them all there. Novak's tweet, and let's go quarterfinals. Listen, first of all, Schwartzman. What has happened to Diego Schwartzman in the last 2 years, I guess, a bit less than 2 years? He had a really good victory, a landmark victory, if you like, against Nadal in Rome, the quarterfinal stage, I think it was, in 2020. He then got to the semi-finals of Paris as well, losing to Nadal. But you thought, okay, this is a guy who's going to be getting to quarters and semi-finals and perhaps even finals of clay court tournaments, but also the big ones, the Masters and slams, perhaps at the French Open final. You know, I do think serve is always an issue, and I think it'll always be an issue for him. But the form as well has dipped since that end of 2020, if you like, where he obviously made the ATP finals that year as well. Have we seen the best of Schwartzman? Maybe we have. And he was no match for Djokovic yesterday, despite breaking serve. I think it was in the second set to go break up. It was one-way traffic pretty much. And it was, Djokovic is purring. Djokovic is purring right now. And I think compared to the Djokovic we saw 2 or 3 months ago, you know, where he was struggling in Monte Carlo, losing in Dubai, I think this is very different. Very different. Obviously, winning in Rome now, I think he must have about 10 matches on the bounce that he's won. Let me know what you think about the upcoming semi-final against Rafa Nadal. I'll have a quick look at some of your comments right now. Talking about today, don't see Cilic beating Medvedev. Yeah, we'll come to that shortly, Josip, but nice of you to give a heads up there for both Cilic and Medvedev. Ivan there, can Cilic win today's match against Medvedev? Yes, he can. That's what I'll say. Kathy there, I want to see Tsitsipas Rune. Yeah, again, we'll come to that very shortly. But let me know about this upcoming match between Djokovic and Nadal. I'll give you some of my thoughts. Djokovic says in his press conference afterwards, I like my chances. At that stage, he didn't know his opponent, but he did address both opponents in his press conference. He said, if I play Felix or if I play Rafa, I like my chances. That's a pretty big comment, even for Djokovic, who's often more outward in terms of his confidence in his expressions than Rafa, who tends to be a bit more cautious in his press conferences. I think that's a big comment, put it that way, especially when we compare it to Rafa's kind of hit and miss victory, if you like, over Felix. Yeah. What else do I think? I think we will almost all go to the 2021 semi-final because that's the most recent match they had between them. It was also on the same surface, even on the same court. But I think also 2020 was 2 years ago, very different conditions. But still, those are the sort of two matches that we're going to use more than any other in their head-to-head. In their episode 59, as it's going to be tomorrow. Right now, Djokovic winning 30-28. That's how tight it is. Of course, on clay, it's a very different story where Rafa has the upper hand. And I think at Roland Garros, it's 7-2 in Rafa's favor. But I think really we can not dismiss the previous half dozen matches, but the most recent two, I think, are the most significant. How will Nadal stand up physically if he's being pushed from side to side, being pushed more than by any other player ever, pretty much, even perhaps Federer? And Djokovic takes him physically to places that Nadal doesn't always feel comfortable in. So let me know what you think about that. The time of the match has been much discussed. Nadal clearly prefers to play in the day. He even said that if this is his last match at Roland Garros, I've been hearing that a bit more than ever before. Maybe it will be, maybe it won't. Let me know what you think. I think he's being nursed through this tournament in terms of the foot. He's got his doctor with him. I don't know what treatment he's taking or having, but I think he's being nursed through. That doesn't mean that I think the foot's going to break down. I just think that he's really making sure that this foot can survive this tournament. and we might not see him play for a few more weeks or even couple of months afterwards. I have my doubts about Wimbledon, whether he'll play there, and we'll see. And maybe this is just a case of, listen, his doctor has said, we can do this for 2 weeks, but we can't do this for 2 years, and we might not even be able to do this for 2 months. Perhaps that conversation has occurred, and that's why we're hearing that. I'm speculating, but I think what I'm saying makes some sense. So, what else? Hours on court, and most recently the Sunday match. Djokovic obviously breezing through in 3 sets. Nadal playing over 4 hours against Felix, but looking quite fresh, I would say. So I don't think that'll be a big factor. I think the biggest factor is, will Nadal bring his tennis from sets 2, 3, and 5? Or will he mix it with sets 1 and 4? If he brings his tennis from sets 2, 3, and 5, and if he brings his tennis from that October Chile 2020 French Open, that's French Open, by the way, not Chile the country. I mean Chile the temperature. You got me right. If he brings that tennis, then I like Nadal's chances. But this is a Nadal that is just not feeling his way back in. But when Nadal lost to Taylor Fritz in March at Indian Wells, for me, his face said everything. He knew that this was an extremely disruptive injury to his season, not just losing a Masters 1000 final that I'm sure he was pretty confident of winning, but he knew how this was going to disrupt things. He possibly even knew that the layoff may make the foot worse. We've actually seen situations with Rafa when he comes back from the lockdown, from the pandemic lockdown we had 2 years ago. That's when the foot flares up. The foot sometimes seems to flare up during downtime. And of course, he has the 4 or 5 weeks off. He comes back in Madrid. He then plays Rome. He's limping out the tournament in Rome. And, you know, he's played 3 clay court matches before this tournament. Not ideal. And as a result, Nadal needs matches to get that confidence and get that feel. Anyway, Djokovic purring. I like my chances. Daytime or evening, by the way. I think this match will be in the evening at nighttime. Let me know what you think. The GTL boys, by the way, JG and Ben, are pretty sure that this will be an afternoon match. I beg to differ. I think it's going to be nighttime, and I'll tell you why. First of all, Roland Garros need to start, I think, giving a bit more value to money to the nighttime paying audience. I've got my Wednesday quarterfinal nighttime match ticket. I am getting 1 match. If you have Philippe Chatrier during the day, I think you get 2 or possibly even 3 matches. You'll get another quarterfinal, but you might also get a women's match as well. And but not only that, you may also get a doubles match. I mean, the value for money is insanely imbalanced. Put it that way. I know that. You just get 1 match for the nighttime ticket, and there is a small price differential, but it's just a few euros. You're basically paying the same price for a third of the tennis. So you want top draw tennis. But let me give you more reasons. The other match is Alcaraz-Zverev. Alcaraz has just played 2 nighttime matches. I think back-to-back. I think he's played 2. Rafa has played 1. Djokovic has played 1, as far as I'm aware. I'm pretty sure. So, will they give Alcaraz a 3rd nighttime match? Also, TV audience. That's I think the deciding factor. I think they'll sell out whether it's day or night. But I think because this is also 2 huge players. If this was Rafa against Shapovalov, or Rafa against Rune, or Rafa against Rude, there we go, all the R's, I think that Rafa's influence would sway things, and perhaps it would be in the daytime. But I think ultimately, because it's 2 legends of the sport, they'll just go, okay, what is fair? Alcaraz has played twice in the evening recently, and Nadal hasn't played in the evening since the second round. I think Djokovic hasn't played in the evening since the first round. TV audience, value for money. I see this being a nighttime match. I think also daytime, perhaps people would start saying this is a bit much now. You're bending too much to Rafa. There was talks about Rafa's influence before the French Open in 2020 about he was consulted about moving the tournament and this kind of thing, whereas other players were not. In fact, I don't think any other player was. But Rafa was consulted about that move to October, how he felt about it, etc., which I think tells you a lot. But I don't think they'll be able to do it again for this particular match. So, has Zverev played a night match? No, he hasn't. That's a good point, Gene. It's a good point. Hey, listen, I could be wrong on this. I don't know. But and by the way, I suggest you refresh Google every few minutes to see, because it'll be sometime this afternoon that they make the announcement. It was around about, I remember looking at the schedule for Sunday, and it was around about 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon, European time, Central European time, when they made the announcement for Sunday's schedule. So I expect it to be sometime this afternoon. Quality shot, I agree, it'll be night purely based on the TV revenue. Yeah, the only thing is quality shot is there is a slightly additional factor, which is that French free terrestrial broadcaster has it in the daytime. They have the daytime matches, and the nighttime matches are on the paid, in France at least anyway, on the paid TV option. Paid TV will want the better option, but so will free TV. I don't know how that power struggle would play out, even in the UK, but certainly in France, I know even less. So don't know where that power struggle stands, whether terrestrial TV ultimately has a bit more sway. In the UK, I think it might, just because of if it was the BBC, for example, the fact that when it's a World Cup or FA Cup or whatever, they will often get first choice at the end of the tournament, the public broadcaster, whereas I don't know how that power play is in France. Anyway, let's move on, although I will just have a quick look at some of the stuff in the chat, see what you're saying. I want some predictions for Nadal, Djokovic, because I have got to move on very quickly. Everyone's talking about the best possible conditions for Nadal, Djokovic for hours. Meanwhile, Alcaraz, the venture champion, is winning in whatever conditions, lol. Yeah, nice one, Capricorn. Yeah, I won't dwell on Alcaraz too much. He's playing amazing. I think he'll beat Zverev, perhaps even in straight sets, and set up an amazing semi-final with either Djokovic or Nadal. I think Rafa will come out fine. The crowd will be so raucous. Yeah, Nadal has already said he doesn't want his last ever match to be at night. Anyway, move on. Leylah Fernandez. Let me know if you think Leylah can go all the way. I am just going to get my battery charger because I'm a little bit low on battery. So we're just going to maneuver here. If you can just bear with me. Apologies for that. But now I'm back. So yeah, let me know about Leylah Fernandez. Do you think she can go all the way? She won in 3 sets, which is her trademark, if you like, situation. Remember how she got on at the US Open, where she was just always winning 3 sets, unlike her opponent that year in the final, into her first quarterfinals at Roland Garros. And I've been really impressed with her, considering since that US Open, things have been a bit flat for her, I think. I've been very impressed. And do you think she can go all the way? And when I say all the way, I mean get to the final. Josip there saying, I love Leylah's determination. Me too. And I love that sort of, the sort of up and down thing she does between points to sort of, I think it's sort of a focus thing and to calm her nerves. I'm not too concerned or not thinking as far away as the final and a potential final with Iga. But let me know whether you think she can get as far as the final. That half of the draw, of course, is super open, given that there's no top 10 seed aside from Iga left in the tournament. And Iga, of course, is on the other side of the draw. Ginger Ale, yeah, love her body language, even when she's down. Me too. I think she's amazing, and I love watching her play, and that's ultimately what sport and tennis is all about: entertainment. Almina, they're just coming back to Alcaraz. I'm honestly starting to feel way more confident about Alcaraz winning this tournament. Yeah, maybe. Jean, Layla is more calm. She could make the final, but I think Coco for her might be tough in the semi-finals. Either way, it's exciting, right? A Coco Gauff, Layla Fernandez semi-final. Bring it on. First of all, there's quarterfinals. First of all, there's matches happening even right now. Women's have obviously already got underway. Let me know how they are getting on. Quality Shot, they're saying he was very impressed with Layla against Anisimova. Yes. Liam saying Layla is his hero. Nice. Sloane Stephens, previous finalist at the French Open. Josip, yeah, that's true. And one or two people they're giving a shout out to Almino. I still want some Nadal Djokovic predictions, by the way. I've seen very few people. Nadal in 4, then bombs out to Alcaraz. Okay, interesting. Nole in 3 sets. Nice one. Milos there. Djokovic in 4. Yeah, that's what I'm going for as well. Djokovic in 5 there from Hopkins. Yeah, so Gene and I, Almino and I on the same page. I think it'll be Djokovic in 4. And I think the deciding factor, if we don't know right now what time of day it'll be, and I still don't think that will be the deciding factor, I think it's confidence. I think it's confidence right now. Djokovic is tuned in. Nadal's hit and miss victory over Felix, I think, said it all. I think even his forehand isn't quite firing as well as we know it can and should, not as consistently as it needs to be over 4 or potentially 5 sets against Djokovic. And Djokovic saying he likes his chances. I think it says everything. Whereas Nadal is saying, I don't want my last match at Roland Garros to be at night. I think that's going to be the difference. I also think that it'll be Djokovic in 4, but it won't be like last year's semi-final where it was, it was a 4-set match, but had so many of the emotions of a 5-set match. I mean, that third set alone probably had some of the swings and the pulls and the sways of a 5-set match just encapsulated into one set. That was a match that could have gone either way, certainly for those 3 sets. I see this being a 4-set victory for Djokovic, but one that will probably be a little more comfortable than last year. Let me know whether you think I am way off on that. Give me some more thoughts on Layla. Give me some more thoughts on the women's tournament. We've obviously got Iga coming up today. So yeah, let me know what you think about that. I will come back to the live chat one more time before we conclude. But as we are coming towards the end of the show, I will just talk about what's coming up today. We've got Tsitsipas Rune, which is about to start, I think, in about half an hour or so, depending on how other matches are going. I think it's going to be a really interesting match. Tsitsipas's form in this tournament has been patchy, struggling to get through in 5 sets against very lowly ranked players or a player. Swiatek, complete opposite. Comfortable so far, yet to drop a set, albeit that she was pushed a bit more in her previous round. And Zheng will push her today. I think we won't be seeing bagels and baguettes necessarily, but I do expect Iga to prevail. And then the third match, which I think is due around about 4 p.m. Central European time, but obviously with other matches going on, could be a bit later. But let's call it mid to late afternoon European time. Rublev Sinner. I think that's a really good one. That could go 5 sets. Could well go 5 sets. I'll go Sinner, but I wouldn't be surprised either way. Okay, one more time. Let's have a quick look what we've got going on in the chat. Ruud breaks right away, causing Hurkacz troubles. Okay, that's interesting to know. So Ruud is already up against Hurkacz. Ruud's form has returned, by the way, which is nice to see in this tournament. That doesn't mean he's going to go through today, but I do think, obviously, you've got hard court specialist. Is that right thing to say about Hurkacz? But certainly better on a hard court against clay court. If Casper doesn't win that, it's, would be a bit demoralizing, I think. And I think he will prevail. And the beginning of that match suggests the same. I think Rune, okay. If it doesn't go 5, Josip, okay. Cool. Let's have a quick look at this crazy stat from Quality Shot. Crazy stat. After the first couple of rounds showed Iga hitting her forehand at the same speed as Rafa. Shows how well she's hitting her forehand, but also maybe a dip for Rafa. Could be Quality Shot, but I think Rafa's forehand, because you concentrate so much on the topspin and also so much to some extent on the distance, that I believe a topspin heavy forehand will be a lot slower than a flat forehand, if you like. But spinning, of course, at an unbelievable rate. So when it hits the ground, boom, it bounces up high. And of course, the daytime conditions more favorable for that, especially if it gets warm. I think daytime cold is almost like nighttime, if you like, because yesterday was pretty cold. We saw everyone at Roland Garros all wrapped up, really cold. And I think that did affect Rafa in terms of the amount of revolutions per minute he gets on the ball, and that's why he's desperate to play in the daytime. And I think the weather is due to get warmer in Paris in the coming days, so that will perhaps help Rafa. But yeah, I mean, Iga's playing unbelievable. She's hitting her spots, and she's hitting with such venom that I just can't see anyone stopping her. What about Cilic versus Medvedev? Yeah, good question. I mean, Cilic is just such a nice guy. I guess Medvedev is slight favorite for that, but it's also an indication of that half of the draw. You know, if whoever you are, if you're playing Cilic or Medvedev in the second week out on clay, I think you're quite happy. Game to Love, they're saying we're also going to cover Medvedev Cilic too. Great. I'm not sure what time that is. You'll have to let me know. Lexi there, nice to have you on board. Rahul, they're saying Medvedev surely a favourite. I think slight favourite, yeah, but mainly because of the way he's playing. And a bit like the French Open last year, he came in with sort of no hopes and no expectations, but is actually cruising through thus far. So it's the evening match. Thank you, Game to Love people. Key point, Nadal has faced difficult opponents who've played well. Djokovic not played a quality opponent. I think I slightly disagree, Rahul. I think in the first couple of rounds, or certainly the first round, was it Nakashima? I'm getting the name wrong, I know, the Japanese fella. I thought he played really well for a set and a half, really well. And that was a straight set win in the end for Djokovic, including a bagel, I think, in the third set. But Nishioka, thank you, yeah. But was super, super tight. And actually, he was playing out of his skin. Michael there, are you staying in a hotel in Paris with 4K TV? Can you see tennis on 4K TV? No, I'm at home right now. I'm going to Paris probably first thing Wednesday morning. I say probably. I've already booked my train tickets. I've already got my quarterfinal nighttime ticket on Wednesday, semifinals and finals for the men's as well. If I suddenly saw a ticket available for Djokovic, Nadal, and it was tomorrow daytime, I can do tomorrow daytime, I can't do tomorrow night, I would be tempted, put it that way. But let's see, I'm 3 or 4 hours away from Paris, so it's doable if you like. But the point is this, I will be there Wednesday, and I will not be watching on TV. I will be watching from Philippe Chatrier. Okay, cool. Djokovic favourite. Medi, I don't want to play on this surface. Also, Medi casually defeats Kitsmanovic in 3. Yeah, that's great, Capricorn BG. Really good, I agree. Okay. Thanks for joining. Thanks for having on board for this daytime version of the Silk Report. Had a super busy weekend. Wasn't able to bring you the end of day stuff. And going to have a busy couple of days as well. We might have another one at this time tomorrow. I need to speak to the guys about that. Sean Power, smooth as silk. John Silk, nice, great show. Thanks, Quality Shot, for the compliment. Thanks, John. Have a good day. And on that note, I will bid you goodbye.
The Silk Report.